Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavignopasantaye Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, nice to see you all after a while. It's been a while. So today we are going to look at this particular stotram called Uma Maheshwara Stotram. You know, it's a prayer to Lord Shiva and Parvati, both of them together. You know. So every verse has this line which repeats itself at the end of the line, quarter, says Namo Namah Shankara Parvati Bhyam. And then the verses describe, address both of them, both Lord Shiva and Parvati, and address both of them together, you know, together in a dual form, grammatically. So we will look at the verses one by one. You know. There are quite a few verses, but we'll cover them. So let's start with the first one. Om Namah Shivabhyam Navayauvanabhyam Paraspara Slishtavapurdharabhyam Nagendra Kanya Vrishaketanabyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvati Bhyam. So Bhyam, no, when this Bhyam word comes, it's a suffix that is added to the word, which indicates the dual number, you know, singular, dual, plural. In Sanskrit grammar, it's like that. So when Bhyam is there, dual is there. That means they are both Shiva, Namah Shivabhyam. Okay, Namah Shivabhyam. The last quarter is clear. Namo Namah Shankara Parvati Bhyam. So there is Lord Shiva, Shankaraha, and also Parvati. So Shankara and Parvati both together. It comes Shankara Parvati Bhyam. Namo Namaha. My salutations, many salutations. Okay. Then, but to whom and who are these two? So starts off also with Namah Shivabhyam. The word Shivabhyam. So there, where is Parvati there? No, it's only Shiva, it says. But then another name for Parvati is Shiva, you know. So ending. Shivaha is Lord Shiva and Goddess Shiva is name for Parvati. So when both are used in the dual together, I'm addressing, I can address them together, Shiva and Parvati, or Shankara Parvati Bhyam. Or when I say Bhyam, when I add that Shiva, there it includes Shivaha and Shiva. Both, both are included in that. It's very unique, you know, something interesting. But anyway, so here again, another way they are both addressed. Namah Shivabhyam, Nava Yauvanabhyam. These are all forms, you know. We worship Bhagwan in many different forms called Upasana Murtis. You know. So Upasana is worship. You know, worship, it can be simple worship like puja also. It's a kind of an Upasana. Then also meditation also is an Upasana. Atasmin tadbuddhihi. So imposing on one object something else, you know, I superimpose something else on a particular object, and then that is called as Upasana. Like a flag. On a flag, I impose the nation and the ideals of the nation. That is a kind of an upasana. So for Bhagavan also, when we do puja, there are murtis we use, different forms are used. And in order to help us relate to the Lord, we use this all the time. Human beings do this in order to communicate with even with each other, to communicate ideas and for their own sake. Okay. But then here, we don't have just simple one form, like some religions have one form. Mostly they relate to that. Or a few forms they'll have. But they all have some forms. Okay. There is nobody who worships the formless, truly speaking. To worship, worship means interaction. And so some form of form is going to be there. You will see this. But anyway, here, whatever the form, we'll see some of those murtis are addressed in different ways. So here, Nava Yauvanam, it is a form which is, they are like, is a, this iconic, this a form where there is like a human form. Because iconic form, icons, like a human like form with hands, legs, etc. So he says they look young. Nava Yauvanam. Bhagwan is ancient, go back forever. And yet you should be looking old like us. Very quickly we look old. But then Bhagwan, no, even though his Bhagwan has been there always, still he doesn't appear to be like an old man. Bhagwan always young, always. Why is he always young? Why is God is always young? Because they don't age. Time, they're not affected by time. They transcend time. So they are beyond time. And thus they are always young, always fresh, always as they are, not bound by time. Parasparashlishta vapuhu. So they, when I look at this form, it is really the form of Ardhanarishwara. Ardhanarishwara form, where Shiva and Parvati are together. They are together. You look at one. These forms that we have, we not only them, Harihara. There's another Murti. So Hari and Hara together. Adyanta Rupam. Another form is we worship. So Adi Bhagwan is Lord Ganesha. And then there is a Hanumanji, generally worshipped at the end. So this particular form is called as Adyanta Murti. There's a temple of it in Chennai. You can go. So half you can see. When you look at this, they are together. Here Shankara and Parvati are together as Ardhanarishwara. And it looks like as though when you look at this form, they are they are embracing, they are in a mutual embrace. And what is the idea? Lord Shiva, this is Parameshwara. The Lord, he is Purusha and Prakriti both. Is a Purusha Prakriti. So Ishvaraha, when we say Ishvara, who's the cause of everything, is both Purusha and Prakriti, depicted in that way. And as Purusha, he is Shankara. As Prakriti, what is Prakriti? It is Ishvara's Shakti. Hmm. It is the it is the potential. It is the Shakti capacity by which things happen. It is there. It is there that makes things happen. And that Shakti is what is called as Adi Shakti, Parashakti, that is represented by goddess. And Purushaha is the Adhishtanam, sustaining principle of everything, that is represented by Lord Shiva. So Shiva, Purusha, Prakriti together. So they are always go together. Ishvara Shakti is not separate from Ishvara. You know. And Ishvara is not separate from Ishvara Shakti with reference to the world. With reference to the world. With reference to the manifestation. Without that Shakti, there is no manifestation. So this mutual being together, inseparable, that nature is depicted or invoked or recalled in this particular form of Ardhanarishwara. So thus they are in a inseparable embrace with each other, he says. Nagendra Kanya Vrishaketanabhyam. So he says Nagendraha. This is not Nagendra, remember. Nagendra is the lord of Nagas. So he's Naga. Naga means Parvatam. Is the Himalayas. So the Himalayas, so he says Nagendra Kanya is Parvati. Is Parvati. She is daughter of Himalaya. She is daughter of those mountains, the deity of that mountain. So he says, and the one who is what? Vrishabhaha. Vrishaketanam is the what is called as the banner. So with Lord Shankara, when he travels, there is a banner. And all those banners have icons. They have icons. And here he carries the icon of Nandi, of a bull. Vrishabha is Nandi, referring to Nandi. And he says bull is, we all know what an icon on the flag stands for the ideals that are symbolized by it. This Dwaja, this flag of in our tradition, it's all many traditions have this, and the stands for what we stand for. It is the ideals. It is the Dharma Dwaja. It's a flag of Dharma. And here you have, as a insignia, we have this Rishabha, bull. So he stands for Dharma because bull is like that. They're big, big, big animals and they are firm. And at the same time, they are, so you can look at him. He's seated. He's seated patiently. He's a devotee. Nandi is a great devotee. The devotee of the Lord is always looking at him. He's waiting for his whatever has to be done out in order to serve him. So, and with patience, not with impatience. That is what a devotee is. A devotee waits with patience. Doesn't get no call attention, keep attention to himself. So he has dhairyam. He stands for dharma, and he's a great bhakta. All these are indicated by having this Vrishabha as a insignia on the flag. He says, Namo Namah Shankara Parvati Bhyam. Number two, Namah Shivabhyam Sarasotsavabhyam Namaskritabhishtavar Pradabhyam Na Narayane Narchita Padukabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvati Bhyam Namah Shivabhyam Sarasotsavabhyam. This I bow down, I prostrate to both Lord Shankara and Parvati. And what do they stand for? What do they remind? They are the essence of what? Utsavam. Utsavam. Of celebrations. What are this? What is an Utsavam? Utsavam is a celebration. We love celebrations in our tradition. There are so many Utsavams. Every other day there is some Utsavam when you look at our Panchangam. So here also, but the all kinds of Utsavams are there. And the biggest ones connected to the temples like Brahmotsavam. So what you were to see how elaborate that is. All it is full of is all connected. The Utsavams are connected to the narratives of the gods and the goddesses that are there talked about in the Puranas and the Itihasas. And it is full of celebration, it is full of prayers, processions, music, dance, etc. All that is going to be part of the Utsavam, depending on how elaborate it is. So, what do we do here? What's the point? It is an awareness of the divine. The divine manifests in our tradition. Our gods, our gods live with us. It's not that we just seek Bhagavan on and off, certain days of the week. Our gods live with us and we live with our gods. Really speaking, when you think about it, you look at our day, how our day begins with prayers, begins with an acknowledgement. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. As soon as you open your eyes and you close your eyes with a prayer, open your eyes with a prayer. And so then in between also it is nothing but if not prayers, we're not praying all day long. We are doing other things too. But there is an awareness in everything that we do. There is an awareness of the divine. There is an awareness of divinity that is expressed in many, many different ways. Some are overtly recognized, some are not recognized. So, really speaking, our gods live with us. They God live with us. We celebrate it, their presence. Utsavam is like that. Even Bhagavan comes out of the temple and goes around in his chariot. And so that prana, in fact, so this is a whole process. The prana is transferred on to the this Utsava Murti, and then he goes around. And why does he go? Why does Bhagavan go around? We are supposed to go to the temple, sure, and we do. But then there are some people who can't, and then just also to make people aware that it's not just there that Bhagavan is sitting there, but Bhagavan is with us. all the time. So that is really what, like a parent, So the parent grandchildren are there. Parents don't come and visit. Then what do parents do? What do? They go and visit them. Easy, difficult, or is not. Elderly people come to visit their children with all the difficulty. So Bhagavan also is like that. But you have to come to the door though. Come to the door. And then he come all the way from the temple. So these all these things are indications of this awareness of the presence of divinity within us. Even of our homes is there. We don't live in our homes. When we buy a house, so Bhagwan first pravesham is Bhagwan enters the house. Then we because he occupies. Bhagwan occupies the house, even our own house. Then we only become tenants. He is the Lord. He is the Lord of the house. He is the Lord of the world. He is the Lord of everything. And so that is our culture. That is something that we have to learn to recognize. So he says that is the understanding, the rasa, the essence of these utsavams that are there. There are utsavams also we celebrate, so seasons and things like that. But here is referring specifically to these kinds of utsavams. So, Namaskrita Abhishtavara Pradabhyam. His Bhagavan, they are the ones both. Bhagavan, Lord and Goddess, they are the ones who fulfill the desires of whom? Of he says, Abhishtam means that always that which is desired. By whom? The one who surrenders to them. Surrenders to them. But you in your what does that mean to surrender? There's all kinds of surrenders are there. Surrender, one can give up. Ultimately, you give up. Giving up is not surrender. Surrender is knowing how to yield, knowing how to yield. And so it is not out of despondency. It's not out of failure. It is not out of feeling dejected that I give up on everything. That is not kind of a surrender. I can still be myself. I should be myself, but I should learn living a life in conformity with dharma is yielding to dharma, because I have an ego that blocks me, that prevents me from doing that, and I don't yield. We don't like to yield because we are the ones who also need to be in control a lot. So that's why also we don't yield. But here, so by if I recognize karma, dharma, etc., if I recognize right and wrong, if I recognize the order that is sustained, that is non-separate from Ishvara, then I learn to yield. Okay. That is a devotee. And so such a person, when he surrenders to the Lord in this way, then whatever the person wants, he's not going to want anything that is outside the framework of dharma. There is no because there's no need for it. And so when he wants that, whatever he wants, he says, then it is fulfilled by him. So the ones who do that through the laws of karma and Ishvara, he says to them, Narayanena Archita Padukabhyam, who's worshipped even by Lord Narayana, by Narayana. So Bhagwan, who worships whom? It's always people get into an argument. So did Lord Shiva worship Narayana or Narayana worship Shiva? So just because one worships the other, so that makes one superior to the other. And then they fight about it. Even if that is true, that doesn't make you superior to me. Bhagwan may be one superior to the other. There's nothing to fight over there. Nobody is superior to the other one. Narayana worships Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva also worships Narayana. You know, this is what all our Puranic narratives show us. They tell us that. So anyway, so here, so Lord Shiva is being worshipped. So he said, oh, even Lord Narayana is the one. Brahmaji is the one. All the gods worship you. So unto that person is my salutation. 3. Namah Shivabhyam Vrishavahanabhyam Virinchi Vishnvendriya no Vishvendra Supujitabhyam विभूति पाटीर विलेपनाभ्याम नमो नमः शंकर पार्वतीभ्याम नमः शिवाभ्याम वृषवाहनाभ्याम वृषवाहनम Vrishabha, we saw. So Nandi, the bull, he is the Vahanam. Vahanam is the one who carry. We have these. All Bhagawans seem to have some pashus, some animals who also worship the Lord, who are their devotees and who function as their Vahanam. Vahanam, though they carry Bhagavan wherever Bhagavan wants to go. He also needs a vehicle. She needs a vehicle, and then they become their vehicle. What is so special? I tell you one thing. If you want to be close to somebody, you know what you should do? What kind of a job you should get with them? That's what people do. You want to be close to some big guy, and then you go become his secretary, or you try to get some proximity. The best job to have is that of a driver. As a driver, really. So I used to drive around my guru. That was one of my jobs. That was my main job at one time. I tell you, why is this great? Why is it great? Because you get to go everywhere with them. Go everywhere because you have to drive them. And so you go everywhere with them. And so they gain proximity. You get a lot of chance to ask questions, lot of chance to discuss things, lot of chance to observe things. So the driver's job is the best job. But you go where they want to go. Not they go where you want to go. Let's go for a drive. Like that, you can't take them. You go where they want to go. And so these devotees, that is the devotee. This Vahanam, so Nandi is a devotee. He functions, he surrenders to the Lord. So he is the driver. He's a vehicle who takes Bhagavan around. You don't need a carriage, just takes him on his back wherever Bhagavan wants to go. In the sense, the idea is very, very close to them. So, and animals are not excluded also from this, from being connected to the divine. So he says the one who has this kind of a devotee Nandi, this Virinchi and Vishnu. Virinchi is so Lord Brahmaji, the one who creates. That word means the one who creates. Who's Lord Brahma? So Brahma, and then Vishnu and Indra Devata, who's the king of all the Rajas. If king is included, all the other He's the Raja of the Devas. All the other Devas are included. All of them pujitabhyam. They are worshipped by all the gods. In other words, vibhuti patira vilepanabhyam. The ones who are anointed with vibhuti. Vibhuti, we know all it is vibhuti. So the this ash that is applied, we all Lord Shiva especially is associated with ash because he is samharakarta. So he's the one, Rudra is the one who's the deity, the god of the resolution, the destruction. At the end of the day, everything is changed, goes back, everything comes from dust, it goes back into dust, and that is represented by these ashes. And not only that, Chandanam. We also anoint the gods with sandal paste. Something very special about this sandal. So it is called as Sugandha Dravyam. Lord Dravya pujas are done with various things, and Sugandha, one which is very fragrant. It is unique to South Asia, really speaking, they say. You don't find that anywhere else. So, or Far East, maybe some places. But then with so fragrance is there, and also it has a cooling effect in a tropical climate. So these qualities make it special to apply. So this Lord gods are worshipped during Abhishekam, during Alankaram. So the ones who are worshipped with all those things. Puja is talked about, salutations are talked about. So worship also is included here. Number 4, Namah Shivabhyam Jagadishwarabhyam Jagatpatibhyam Jaya Vigrahabhyam Jambhari Mukhyairavivanditabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam. Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam. I salute again and again to this God and Goddess. He says, the one Jagadishwari Bhyam, Jagatpati Bhyam is the one who's the Ishvara of the whole Jagat, whole Jagat, the entire manifest Jagat. Jagat is that which is drishta nashta swabhava. It is jayati, gachati is called Jagat. Jayati means jayate. It is born and it is gone. That is the nature of the what is that? That is what is called as Jagat. The entire phenomenal world. The world of phenomenon. And phenomenon is not just physical. So it is what I see, and it is what I think, it is what I feel, it is my reality, it is the world that I live in, it is my dreams, it is the available for the senses, it is the one not available for all the senses. All of these things are the phenomenon, my experiences in the form of events. A phenomenon is an event. Okay, so this is life. And so all of this constitutes what is this Jagat, and the one who, because of the laws of all of these things are functioning, I am functioning, including myself. All of this, who is the one? He is Jagadishvaraha. He's the Lord of the Jagat. Anyway, we call him so. We call her so. She is also the goddess of Jagat. I tell you, she is the creator. She is also the creator. In fact, she is the creator. She is the Adi Shakti. Without Shakti, without Devi, there is no creation. There is no creation. This is because Ishvara's Shakti, where is the manifestation? Okay. We think, oh, Maya Shakti, this is all Maya, 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 as if it is something which is to be taken very lightly. So thus is a Shakti, and so she is Jagadishwari. She is Bhuvaneshwari. In fact, he is Jagadishwaraha, she is Bhuvaneshwari. Bhuvanam also is the Jagat. She's also called, as another name for her. Jaya Vigrahabhyam, Jaya Vigraham. They are the symbols of Jayam. Jayam is victory. Jaya, she Devi, goddess is called as Jaya. Om Jayayai Namaha. One of the names of this Parashakti is Jaya. So he says, so Jaya Vigraham, it is victory of all kinds. Victory not just in terms of war, we have victory. Victory is any kind of success. Anything that leads me to success is what is called as, it is Jayam. In Upasana, you do Upasana to goddess in our Sri Vidya Upasana. They one of the forms that the goddess is invoked in is Jaya Devi. So he says all this comes from the blessings of the divine. He says, Jambhari Mukhya Jamba. Jamba was the name of an Asura. He says the Mukhya Deva also. He says, Ari Mukhyam, the goddess, chief god also Indra can be taken. So they are worshipped by Asuras and Devas, both. In our tradition, we don't have this concept really of, the good guys worship Bhagwan, God. The bad guys worship the opposite devil, you know. It's, bad guys worship. That's why if you'll be very scared if you're bad. And plus you're worshipping the devil or whatever that may be. They go two separate. There's a dichotomy. Really speaking, if you look at our just devas, asuras, everybody worships Bhagwan only. One Bhagwan. That's all. The only difference is the devas don't follow things, conformity to dharma. Asuras don't conform to dharma. That's all. That's the difference. They both have gurus. Brihaspati is there teaching the devas. Shukracharya is there teaching the asura. He doesn't teach them to do adharma. He teaches them what is dharma, adharma. Brihaspati teaches what is dharma, adharma. So devas are ones who conform to dharma. Asuras are ones who don't conform to dharma. But both, when it comes to worship, even when the asura wants his things to happen, which he shouldn't be wanting, Who does he worship? Bhagwan alone. And Bhagwan also we see grants him that because of the worship. Because of the worship. Anyway, so the idea is interesting. So anyway, the one's idea is the ones who are worshipped by all beings, all jivas. Unto you, my also, namo namaha. Number 5. Namah Shivabhyam Paramaushadhabhyam Panchakshari Panjararanjitabhyam Prapancha Srishti Sthiti Samhritabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam Namah Shivabhyam Paramaushadhabhyam Paramaushadam. Aushadam. Aushadam is the medicine. So Bhagavan is the medicine. Bhagavan's blessings. Through their blessings, they become the medicine that heals, medicine that soothes. There are two things medicines do. They are curative or palliative. Okay, there are two types of medicine. So curative are ones that cure the disease, get rid of the illness completely, completely, no recurrence. And the other one is palliative. It soothes the pain. May not get rid of it completely, but still it serves a function. So here this is paramaushadham. It is a medicine for, so the ultimate pain, the ultimate disease. Disease is something that takes away your ease, your comfort, your good health in the form of health. So there are different kinds are there. So here he says the divine, the prayers to whom relieve me of my both palliative care and curative. How palliative is dukkham, all the dukkham, etc., things that are very difficult to handle. And my prayers help me get over that. This is called duritas, papam. Then there is the ultimate that underlines everything, which is the samsara. It says, the samsara dukkham that comes and goes, and then there is dukkham born of ignorance. He says the one who gets rid of the ultimate, finally, forever, curative, that kind of is the ultimate in terms of medicine for samsara dukkham and samsara, both. Panchakshari Panjara Ranjitabhyam, the ones who are known through the through the mantra, Panchakshari mantra. Panchakshari mantra, you all know. So Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. 5 aksharas are there. Aksharam itself is something that naksharati, doesn't kshayam. Akshaya tritiya, you know what that is. You know what that is. So they say you deposit money in the bank, it's not going to go away. Not going to go away. Not going to go away from you. It will not decline. Your wealth will not decline. The special day today is connected to some itihasa story of Pandavas and Draupadi and all. But anyway, I won't get into that. But where there is no kshaya, there is no declension. Okay. So even with inflation, there is no declension. And it keep up. It keeps up with the uh, with the value. So in any case, so this is Panch Aksharam of 5 letters are supposed to be Aksharas. Okay, this is a whole another thing to understand, that symbolism of sounds and letters. Okay, it's called Nada Upasana. But anyway, so this Om Namah Shivaya, Om is always added, Namah Shivaya, this is called as Panchakshari. Panjara. Panjara is a cage. So, what is this cage of Panchakshara? Cage is like kavacham. You know what is a kavacham? Something that I protect myself. Sometimes in life, So there are all kinds of protections we need, from the world and from the turmoil within. And so we have, that's how you deal with things. How do you deal with enemies? So sometimes you confront them, so you fight them, sometimes you run, sometimes you protect yourself. And those things that help us protect ourselves in terms of our mind, in terms of our psyche, and that is like a cage and in the form of prayers. And so this Panchakshari mantra is a very powerful prayer. And so you are the one through these prayers is the one who protects me. Prapancha Srishti Sthiti Samhritabhyam. The ones who are really, so as the Triputi, Parameshwara, keep in mind here, Lord, when we say Ishvara and Shakti, Parvati together, we are talking of this, the Lord Ishvara in the form of Shiva and Parvati are being worshipped here. So he says, all you are the Triputi. In fact, you are not separate from the threefold that are there. So only Samhara is one aspect of it. But Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, all three, which is representing Ishvara, that Triputi you are. And so he says, I salute you in that particular form. Says. Number 6. Namah Shivabhyam Atisundarabhyam Atyantamasakta Hridam Bujabhyam Asheshalokaikahitankarabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam Namah Shivabhyam Atisundarabhyam. Beauty, Sundara, the one with unsurpassed beauty. This form of Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati. It is Ati Sundaram. There is nothing which is more beautiful than the Lord, really, for a devotee. There is nothing, anything else. There are so many beautiful things in the world. But that which makes me the most happy, the most peaceful, the most content, the most full is the form that I love the most, is the most beautiful to me. It's like a child, like a baby and the mother, you know. So it doesn't look at the form, the adults will look at the form of the mother in all kinds of ways. So some will, for some it will be beautiful, some may be not, whatever it may be. But for the child, it is always the most beautiful form, is the one who comforts and loves and is there and can be depended upon, etc. So ultimate form like that is only Bhagavan. So for the one, for the devotee whose form is Ati Sundaram, not only that, Asakta Hridam Bujabhyam. Again, he's talking of the inseparable nature of the two together. They are with deep, intense attachment. They are together and so inseparable from each other. One in the manifest world. So Ishvara and Ishvara Shakti, Purusha Prakriti, these are always together, which is what makes for the manifest experience, philosophically speaking. So Ashesha Lokaika Hitankarabyam. It is Hitankaraha. They are Hitankaraha. Bhagavan is Hitam Karaha. This is another thing really to recognize. Bhagavan, Lord always does through the karmas, through the results, always does what is Hitam, what is good, what is good for us. After all, what is the point of this whole journey? The point is for growth, the growth and success. So physically, emotionally, spiritually. We all have our ideas of spiritual success, no different. But anyway, we're talking whatever it is in our tradition, we know. So, in terms of the ultimate goal, purusharthas, etc., So he says that is the whole point. The point is not some cruel despot sitting up there has nothing else to do except make some people suffer. That's not the point of creation. So whatever that is there, if there is a Bhagavan who's making all this, is operating, is in charge of all operations, and is operating this whole Srishti, then the whole point is to get everything, everybody to that point. And so one has to be taken there. That's why there's a shepherd and all that, to lead the people to their destination. And how to do that? Animals are easy, they are programmed. Human beings are not easy to manage because they have some free will Bhagavan gave, which they really don't know how to use properly. And so they have to be guided. And so there is the right, wrong, dharma, punyam, papam, positive results, negative results, desirable things, undesirable things. All these things are there to make this person go in a direction, to flow in a direction which is for their good. Hitam. It is hitam. So even karma, even the karma phalam, like a parent helps a child grow, and it may do sometimes things which look, it is not hitam, which are undesirable. But then there, the intent is it's for a positive end, always. Now, parent can make mistakes because of human frailty, but Bhagavan doesn't make mistakes. So, if there is a law through which this karma operates, then it is for one's hitam. It is not out of cruelty or of a need to punish or anything like that. But it is even pain is not for punishment, really. Even physical pain is like that. It is for drawing attention so that you protect yourself. So, thus, when I recognize Ishvara's dharma like that, then really speaking, there is no sense of victimization. There's nothing to be victim, nothing to feel like a victim. So I take the results of my actions, but I know I have faith that this is eventually what is happening, and we find that in our life too. And we have gone through enough to see that things we do, things we have done, things that happen, the consequences, etc. Ultimately, if I have a certain recognition and sensitivity, it all ends well. It all does end well. And that is what Bhagavan is. So he says he is Hitankaraha for everybody, not just especially for few people. That is the nature of how things are, with Ishvara and with divinity. Unto that divine in the form of Lord Shiva and Parvati, my salutations, my namaskar. Number 7. Namah Shivabhyam Kalinashanabhyam Kankala Kalyana Vapurdharabhyam Kailasa Shaila Sthiti Devatabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam Namah Shivabhyam Kalinashanabhyam. Kali. Kali is Kala. Kali Kalam. So the one that the time where all the negative things are happening to a greater extent, is called Kalikala. So where dharma starts overtaking I'm sorry, is overtaken by adharma. Okay. So when that happens during that time, Bhagavan is the one, in fact, who gets us over Kalikalam and also all Kala, all time itself. So Kalam here also is in terms of time, means change. Time involves change. The life of change involves samsara. So the one who helps me get over this changing world, Jagat, in other words, I said, So because he's Trikala Abhatitam, how? When is he going to do that? When is he going to do that? At what time? The whole point is to get past the time, you know. As long as it is within time, is going to be a problem. This is something that has to get past time. And Bhagavan is the only one who transcends time because the Lord sustains time. And so my understanding, my proximity to the divinity is what helps me transcend time. So the one who helps me that, Rameshwara, who is in the form of, he says, Kankala Murti. See here, he's talking about resolution also, samhara, you know. This Kankala Murti, this Kankala is a type of it's a type of a Upasana Murti again, which is considered to be Ugra Murti, you know. You heard of that. So there are different types of Murtis, like I said, iconic are like human form, aniconic are like saligrama, and where there is no particular, human form. Then there are other murtis are also there, other forms are there in which we worship the Lord, like yantras, you know. There's another form, mantra, also is a form. It is a audio form. These are all upasana murtis, you know. So here this Kankala Murti is a Ugra Rupam. So Lord Shiva, why do we worship? Some of our gods are very scary looking, very scary looking. Narasimha, oh my God, you know. Even gods were scared of him. All the gods were scared of him when he manifests. Not only the Asura, everybody there, including the gods who were there at that time, came to see what was going on. They were all scared, except for one. They couldn't approach him because once he finished off Hiranyakashipu, then the job was done. But Narasimha, he was so intense in the whole thing. He was still there. He should go, no, right away. Disappeared. Once this job is done, he didn't disappear. He was still there because of the intensity. And in that time, everybody, all the gods were shaking with fear at his rupam, you know. Then finally, they don't, nobody wants to approach him to calm him down. And then they finally deputize this little boy, Prahlada, to do that job. And Prahlada goes right up to him and calms him. He comes down. And he didn't get scared. He didn't get scared. Because he didn't see. To him, it was not scary. Ugra Rupam, when we talk, so just some of them look scary, but who does it look scary to? Not to the devotee. So, again, I bring back the example of the child. There can be the whole world looks at this lady and she looks scary for whatever reason. Not bad. I'm not saying she looks bad. She looks scary. She was in a fire. She's all burnt up and all scarred and whatnot. Whatever it is, something happened, and she looks frightening. And these people see her, and suddenly they see her, and they're scary, little scary to look at. Oh, let's say a little scary. But then this she has a child, small child, to whom this is a mother. And he looks at the mother, nothing, no fear there. So it is in the perception. It is how we see, how we relate. So these Ugra Rupams are also there. But they symbolize something. So is Lord Shiva in his Rudra Rupam, when he manifests as a Samhara, the one who resolves everything, is Ugra Rupam. Has to, because people are afraid of death. People are afraid of death. It can't be something which is something so nice, beautiful, pleasant. We don't welcome it so easily because of other reasons. Because we are afraid what's going to happen. We lose ourselves. What's going to happen to me? I might disappear. I might disappear. And we get scared because we don't know, and because we might lose ourselves, the only one I know what I think I am. But there, every day that happens when I go to sleep, I might not get up and I might lose myself. But does it stop me from sleeping? Am I scared of sleeping? I go to sleep. Okay. Go to sleep. Why? What is it in my mind that allows me to do that? What is it in my mind that doesn't allow me to do that when I'm awake and conscious of the world? I'm afraid of samhara. I'm afraid of death. So, anyway, so there are these different murtis are there. They represent different things. So there's one particular Kankala Murti examples like this uh, you know forms where there are Bhikshatana Murti, one of the forms of Lord Shiva. When he goes around for Bhiksha with the skull, there's a whole story there connected to Brahmaji and all. The form that Brahmashira Chedaka Murti, where he cuts off the head, one of the heads of Brahmaji, the fifth head. These are all certain stories are there in the Puranas, where Lord Shiva is associated with his form, a form which is frightening form. Yeah. So he says, because he talks about Kala, time, the resolution. So here, the one who's worship, we worship that form. We don't really get scared as such. Not only that, Kailasa, Shaila, Sthiti, Devatabhyam, all the gods and others who are residing in Kailasha, by all of them, the one who is worshipped. So he says the Kankala Murti is not meant for frightening people, but it's the idea here is that so there is some fear associated with those forms, but then it is also a form that blesses. 8. Namah Shivabhyam Ashubhapahabhyam Asheshalokaika Visheshitabhyam Akuntitabhyam Smritisambrtabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam Shivabhyam Ashubhapahabhyam Ashubham. There he talked about time in terms of time, the big thing and death and all things like that. The ones who helped me overcome that. So here also from a relative standpoint, he says, so that which is the result of, so which is Ashubham, Duritas, the one who helps remove the Papa karmas through prayers, etc. And so the one who all that is inauspicious, which is Ashubham, that brings me sorrow. And so he says, the one who helps me apahatam, that is to remove, the one who removes. All our prayers and all are directed towards that. Lokaika Visheshita, Shesha Lokaika Visheshitam. They are wishes, there's something, they are very special. Shiva Parvati, their form is something very unique and very special in the entire Jagat, he says, with respect to different attributes and all that are worshipped through these forms. Akuntitam, he is without any limitations, without any impediments to things that are happening, without any limitations, is the Bhagavan. That is the nature of Bhagavan and what he gives, he says. And the one who are, he says, Smriti Sambritabhyam, obtained through the Smriti, through understanding of the scriptures, okay, and then also living, understanding scripture, not just some textbook kind of a thing, but living through what the scriptures teach. So living in accordance with the teachings of our Shastram. So the one who is able to reach that deity through the scriptures, he says, unto that, unto those I offer my namaskar. 9. Namah Shivabhyam Ratavahanabhyam Ravindu Vaishvanaralochanabhyam Rakashashanka Shankabhimukhambujabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam Rathavahanab Namah Shivabhyam Rathavahanam, the one who rides this chariot. This is a very special chariot that is talked about, in the Puranas. In Matsya Purana is a Rudra Samhita in which this chariot is described. Lord Shiva rides this chariot, and this is a cosmic chariot. It's a cosmic, it's huge. It's a huge cosmos. So his Bhagavan has to go around, Remember in Nataraja, he's the whole, he dances all over this whole universe is nothing. And so he says his Bhagavan's chariot. Yep, right. So in the narrative where he becomes so Tripurantaka, when he destroys Tripura, that Tripura city, in that he says he goes in a chariot, and this is a cosmic chariot. And anyway, there's a whole big description about this chariot. So made up of the sun and the moon and all the devas and all that is there in the universe. And it's like everything is included in that. And Lord Shiva, Brahma is the one who's riding, who's the charioteer. And Lord Shiva is the master. He is the Lord. So in this chariot he goes. And in other words, as the destroyer of Tripura. And this Tripura is a city, the threefold city of the Srishtis, the threefold states, waking, dream, and deep sleep. The Jiva, the whole Jiva is the one this Jagat belongs to the Jiva. Jiva belongs to Jagat, sorry. Yeah. Jiva belongs to Jagat. Jagat belongs to Jiva. They are connected. This whole thing has to be destroyed for the Jiva to get to discover that oneness with the Lord. Okay. So this is the one of whom he is the master. And the one who rides this chariot, cosmic chariot, Rathavahanam. He says Raka, and the one who is like Raka is a Devi, name of a Devi. So she is a presiding Devi of the full moon. So the one who's brilliant like the full moon, who's like the open lotus in a full moon, like that. So that form is described. He says, Ravi Indu Vaishvanara Lochanam. So the one who has these three eyes, Ravi is Surya, Chandra, and Agni. So the three luminaries, whose eyes are these three luminaries, and that Shashanka is the moon, full moon. So the Devi, whose face is bright like this moon, talks about Parvati, full moon, bright moon. Unto them I offer my salutation. 10. We have few more minutes, so we'll just complete this. Don't worry. Namah Shivabhyam Jatilandharabhyam Jaramritibhyam Chavivarjitabhyam Janardanad Janardanabjod Bhavapujitabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam Jatilandharaha. He's Jatadharaha. Oh Lord Shiva, who is Jadadharaha? Who's the one who has this Jata? Bhagavan's Lord Shiva's Jata is unique. And he has different styles also. Like, like here. So different styles in which he wears his hair. First it is matted, the Jata. And the matted indicates is a mendicant. Lord Shiva is a mendicant. And matted hair is associated with mendicants, with vairagis, with yogis. And so he says in many manifestations we see this. So like then where he wears it in a knot, generally sometimes in a knot, so which indicates a certain control, hair also stands for senses. It stands for ego. So the one whose senses are contained, controlled, is a yogi. So it can be in a knot, or with Dakshinamurti, it is tied together with a bandhanam, you know, with a bandana. Or it can be wild, free flowing, like Gangadharaha. Today he is Gangadhara. Ganga came down today. And her force, no knot is going to stay on his head. Her force was going to drag the whole earth away. And Lord Shiva, through prayers, agreed to receive her from the heavens. But that doesn't mean his knot remained intact. So his hair is shown as flowing, you know. It is one of his Kankar Murtis. Or as Nataraja, his hair is, see behind me, there he is. He has his hair flowing like that. What does that? How did the hair become like that horizontal? Because that is not a pose. That's not a posture. That is a movement. Nataraja dance, he is moving round and round. Or it's a karana. It is a movement that ends in a posture. But he's still moving. That's why his hair is like that. So all these kinds of things, his varieties of hairs, he wears this jata. Then Jara Mrityu, the one who is free from Jara. Jara is decay, decline, disease, aging. And Mrityu, of course, is the time limited death, the one who is free from all of that. He is Kala Titaha, Trikala Bhatitam. All these words are used to describe Lord Shiva. Janardana and Abjodbhavaha. He is worshipped by Pujitam. Janardana is Lord Narayana. One of the 24 manifestations of Narayana is his name Janardana, the one Dushtajana Mardanam, the one who destroys the Dushtajanas, people who are so asuras, etc. Those kinds of things. So by Janardana, Lord Vishnu, and Abjodbhava is Brahmaji, the one who's born on the lotus, the ones who's worshipped by them. I bow to them. Namo Namaha. 11. Namah Shivabhyam Vishamekshanabhyam Bilvachadama Mallikadama Pridhyam Shobhavati Shantavati Shvarabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam Namah Shiva Vishamekshanabhyam. Ekshanam, his look, his sight, his eyes, his third eye. Bhagwan's eyes are, like anybody's eyes, see everything. Third eye is a unique eye. It's Vishamam. It's destructive. It destroys. That's why he said, don't open it. Don't open his eye. When he opens his eyes means it destroys. Remember, Manmatha he destroyed. You don't want Lord Shiva to open his third eye. Do you or don't you? Then you say, yes, of course I do. Of course I do. Why? You don't know what he did to Manmatha. Yeah, but Manmatha stands for ego, stands for vanity, you know. The god of love, but anyway, at that point, in that instance, he stands for the vanity, ego. He thought he could influence Lord Shiva, his tapas and things like that. So that opening of the third eye is really the eye of wisdom. It is jnana chakshu. And if he opens that eye, so he blesses the devotee. It's a blessing in terms of getting rid of destructive to ignorance, self-ignorance. And so the one whose Vishamikshanam, whose glance of his third eye is something that frees a devotee from the samsara ultimately. It's the ultimate aushadam he mentioned earlier. So he says, and then Bilva, and he's the one who is So adorned, the both of they are adorned with Bilva and Bilva leaves and Mallika. Mallika is jasmine, jasmine flowers for Parvati. So we use jasmine flowers for Lord Shiva loves Bilva Patras, you say. And then one is a Shobhavati, and one is Shantavati. Shobha is one who's icon of beauty, and the one who's an icon of peace. Doesn't mean those are their only qualities, but then icon. What are you talking of icon? Murti. I look at Lord Shiva in the Murti as a one who's meditating, as a yogi, is an icon of peace, like Buddha, like Lord Shiva. That form evokes that. And Devi, Parvati Devi, any form you see, except like Mahakali and all that, those manifestations. But as Bhuvaneshwari, so as all these forms are forms of beauty, he says, unto them my Namo Namaha. Namah Shiva 12. Namah Shivabhyam Pashupalakabhyam Jagatrayi Rakshana Baddha Hridbyam समस्त देवासुर पूजिताभ्याम नमो नमः श्री शंकर पार्वतीभ्याम पशुपालकाभ्याम the one who protects all beings, in fact. So for us that's not a big concept. So any jiva, any living being, so under the purview of the blessing of the same Bhagavan, all jivas are the same. Is the one who protects. We see that Bhagavan protects every jiva. Dwelling, the one who Jagat Rai Rakshana Baddha Hridvyam. All the beings that are dwelling in all the three worlds is the one who is protected by whom. What are we worried about? One little fellows. He says the one who protects all of them. Not only that, also the one who Baddha Hridvyam, the one who frees them from the bondage of samsara, life and death, birth and death, and Samasta Devasura Pujit, the one who's worshipped by all the devas, all the gods, all the asuras, even Rakshasas, everyone, the one who worships one worships him. Then 13. स्तोत्रं त्रिसन्ध्यं शिवपार्वतीभ्यां भक्त्या पठेद्वादशकं नरो यः स सर्वसौभाग्यफलानि भुङ्क्ते शतायुरान्ते शिवलोकमेति. So this is a concludes with this verse. He says, Phalashruti. It's called Phalashruti. Prayer. Why should I do this prayer? Why should I do any prayer? So generally they will give. So these are the results of the prayer. One gains these results. And it says different things they say. So Stotram Trisandhyam Shiva Parvati Bhyam Stotram. So this particular prayer to Lord Shiva and Parvati, Goddess Parvati, he says, the one who recites this 12 verses, made up of 12 verses, Dvadashakam Stotram. He says bhaktiya, with bhakti, with devotion, with understanding. Then what happens? Sarva saubhagya phalani bhunkte. He enjoys the results. Phalani. So results of your actions, of your prayer to the Lord. And then you get some results, he says. What kind of results? Saubhagya phalam. Saubhagya. That gives you all positive things, everything positive to help you in your spiritual journey. It says, Shatayuhu ante, and at the end of 100 years, 100 years, full life, supposed to be full life for a human being. So having lived a full life, after having lived a full life, He says Shivalokam gains Shivalokam. Shivalokam is a field of experience, loka, you can take it like that, or Shivalokam is the ultimate end where because remember Shiva transcends everything. So transcends everything is moksha. In other words, he takes you to the end that is in the form of moksha. So with that concludes this particular prayer. Beautiful prayer. Trisandhyam Pathet. The one who recites this at 3 times a day. 3 times. 3 sandhyas. Sandhya is the junction. So between night and day is one. Dawn, that is the dawn. And then there is the dusk, that is the other conjunction. And then the third one is during the day. So between the forenoon and afternoon, which is noon, around noon. So these are called as sandhyas. So these are the 3 times. Like I said, which we do in our tradition. You get up in the morning. You're supposed to get up at dawn. Okay. And then we start with a prayer. We end with a prayer. And in between also, yeah, during your lunch break, say a prayer. You will say a prayer. So the one, so who recites these prayers 3 times a day. So with that, we will conclude this particular prayer. Om Namah Shivaya. Just give me a second, I'll shut this off. Yeah.
Thank you